Hello everybody. Today we're going to do the second half of Unit 6, Lesson 3, and I'm on page 175 of your notes, and this is just going to be a one-page lesson. We are going to be factoring trinomials, which means three terms. So if you look at all 9 of these problems on page 175, you'll see they all have three terms. And they're all in the form of something times x squared plus something times x plus something. And in these cases, the coefficient of x squared is going to be greater than 1. So when you look through all these problems, you're going to see that there's a number in front of x squared, 2x squared, 4x squared, 6x squared. You look through all of these, and it's not just plain old x squared like in the previous page, but there's going to be a number out in front. And if you look through all of these, there is no GCF on any of these problems. So there's a different method when there's a coefficient in front of the x squared. And we're going to call this the rainbow method. Not because it's colorful, but because of the arc. So the first step always when factoring is to look for a greatest common factor. And if you don't see one, like you won't see one in any of these, we're going to go through and notice that there's a coefficient in front of x squared. So we're going to multiply the leading coefficient, which is a, and the constant c. And we call this the rainbow method because we're going to draw an arc between a and c. And we're going to point to it, and we're going to write, and this is a multiplication, so you're going to multiply these two numbers, and we're going to write out the product, a times c, off to the side. Then we're going to find the factors of a times c that sum to the coefficient of the linear term called b, which is exactly like we did before. Before we just found the factors of c that added up to b. This time we're going to find the factors of a times c that add up to b. So the factors of a times c that add to b. So it's just a little bit different of a twist here. And then we're going to do something called split the middle. Term. The middle term being like the 7x or the negative 12x or the negative x. And we're going to split the middle term as the sum of the two numbers that we found in this previous step. So split the middle term is an important step of this rainbow method. And then we're going to use to finally get the final factored form. So this requires a lot of steps, or three steps actually after you get the GCF done. But the main thing is the rainbow method is only going to be used when the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1. If there's just a 1 here, you don't need to use this method. You could, but it's kind of a waste of time. You don't have to. So this process says we're going to multiply the 2 times the 6 with the rainbow method, and 2 times 6 is 12. So we're going to write that 12 off to the side, like it says up here. And then we're going to find the factors of this number that add up to the middle number, 7. So what are the factors of 12 that add up to 7? Well, hopefully quickly you can figure out it's 3 and 4, positive 3 and positive 4. Now we're down to the last step, and we're going to split the middle term, which means we're going to split this 7x up into this plus 3x and plus 4x, because as you know, 3x plus 4x equals 7x. So we're just splitting this middle term. We're going to drop the 2x squared down. That does not change. We're going to drop the 6 down. That does not change. So now we have 4 terms, and the only thing we did was we split the middle term into 2 different terms, but it's still equivalent. Now we're going to do factor by grouping, like we did earlier last week. And factor by grouping says we're going to draw that little squiggly down the line, down the middle. We're going to find the greatest common factor on the left, which is x, and we're left with 2x plus 3. The greatest common factor on the right is a positive 2, and we're left with 2x plus 3. Now in this process, you are always going to get, if you did your arithmetic right anyways, you're always going to get these two factors to be the same, which means you can do factor by grouping, which says write 2x plus 3 down just once, and what's left over is the x plus 2. And that is the end of that problem. So we're just going to go through all 8 of the other problems, and with hopefully enough repetition, enough practice, you're going to see how to do this on your own. Or you can try any of these on your own if you'd like to just pause. So 4 times 5 is 20. Factors of 20 that add up to negative 12. Remember, we have to add up to negative 12. Well, let's see. 20 is 1 times 20, 2 times 10. Oh, that sounds like it's going to do it. If you have a negative 2 times a negative 10, negative 2 times negative 10 is positive 20, and negative 2 plus negative 10 is negative 12, so that's our ticket. So negative 12x splits up into negative 2x and a negative 10x. That's splitting the middle term. We must drop down the first term, 4x squared, don't change it. We must drop down the last term, plus 5, don't change it. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Factor by grouping says we're going to split down the middle. The left-hand GCF is a 2x. And we're left with 2x minus 1. On the right, we have a negative that we're dropping down, and the greatest common factor here is a 5. So negative 10x divided by negative 5 is positive 2x. Positive 5 divided by negative 5 is negative 1. And now because we have 2x minus 1 appearing in both places, we write it down once, 2x minus 1, and then we write what's left over, which is 2x minus 5. And that is the end of that problem. The next example, 6 times negative 2 is a negative 12. Factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 1. Let's see. Is it 1 times 12? Is it 2 times 6? Is it 3 times 4? Yes, it is 3 multiplied times negative 4, because positive times negative is negative. Positive 3 plus negative 4 is equal to negative 1. So we're going to split that middle term into a positive 3x and a negative 4x. Adding those together will give you that. So you're going to drop the 6x squared down straight. You're going to drop the minus 2 down. And then you're going to split these in the middle. The greatest common factor of 6x squared and 3x is a 3x. 6x squared divided by 3x is 2x. 3x divided by 3x is 1. This is a minus, so drop that minus down. The greatest common factor of these two terms is a 2, and you're left with 2x and a positive 1, because negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1. Because we have 2x plus 1 appearing in both spots, we're going to factor it out just once. 2x plus 1 written once, and 3x minus 2 is what's left over. Like I said, anytime you want to try this on your own, feel free. 6 times 12, I believe, is 72. And the factors of 72 that add up to negative 17, well, hopefully you know your multiplication tables pretty well. And 72 is 8 times 9, so you can put a negative 8 and a negative 9 as the factors of 72 that add up to negative 17. Now we have to split the middle. Negative 17x is negative 8x minus 9x, those two numbers, but with an x on the end. 6x squared gets dropped down. Positive 12 gets dropped down, and now we're factored by grouping. The greatest common factor on the left is 2x, and we're left with 3x minus 4. This minus gets dropped down here. The greatest common factor here is a 3. Negative 9x divided by negative 3 is positive 3x, and 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. Because we have these two the same, we can do factor by grouping, writing 3x minus 4 down once, and you're left with 2x minus 3. Isn't this fun? I love this stuff. Letter E. 2 times 6 is 12, and factors of positive 12 that add up to negative 7 are negative 4 and negative 3. Split the middle. Negative 7x is negative 4x minus 3x. Those same numbers with the x's on the end. Drop down the 2x squared. Drop down the plus 6. Don't forget to drop down the outside terms. Split it down the middle. The greatest common factor of 2x squared and 4x is 2x. We're left with x minus 2. Drop that negative down here, and the greatest common factor of these two terms is a 3. Negative 3x divided by negative 3 is x, and 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. X minus 2 gets written down once. And then what we're left with is the 2x minus 3. Six times 5 is 30. And I encourage you to try this one on your own. Try the rest of these on your own. See if you can do these. And then turn on the video and see if you get them right. Well, 30 is 15 times 2. But positive 30 is negative 15 times negative 2, because this has to add up to a negative 17. So when you split the negative 17x into negative 15x minus 2x, drop down the first term, 6x squared, drop down the positive 5, and you have 4 terms to do factor by grouping with. The greatest common factor of 6 and 15 is a 3, and there's an x in each term. So you're left with 6x squared divided by 3x is 2x, minus 15x divided by 3x is 5. Drop down that subtraction. There is no greatest common factor of a 2x and a 5, so you have to put a 1 there. And this would be 2x, positive 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. We have the 2x minus 5 as our duplicate factor. Factor it out as the greatest common factor, and you're left over with 3x minus 1. The next one, 6 times 3 is 18. And factors of 18 that add up to negative 11. Let's see. I think it's 9 and 2, but it's negative 9 and negative 2, because negative times negative is positive. Negative 9 plus negative 2 is negative 11. So you're splitting the middle term into negative 9x minus 2x. You drop down the 6x squared. You drop down the positive 3. You split the 4 terms into 2 and 2. The greatest common factor here is a 3 and an x, and you're left with 2x minus 3. Drop down that minus, and there's no greatest common factor of 2x plus 3, so you're just left with 2x positive 3 divided by negative 1. Sorry, I should have put a 1 in there. Is minus 3. So we have 2x minus 3 as our greatest common factor. So 2x minus 3 gets written once, and you're left with the 3x minus 1. Letter H. 3 times 2 is 6. Factors of 6 that add up to 7 are positive 6 and positive 1. 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. Split the middle, 7x is equal to 6x plus 1x. 3x squared is dropped down. Positive 2 is dropped down. Remember to drop the first and the last. Split the middle. The greatest common factor here is a 3x, and you're left with x plus 2. There's no common factor of 1x plus 2, so you're going to put plus 1 and x plus 2. X plus 2 appears twice, so you write it once, and you're left with 3x plus 1. One more to go. And we have 2x, or 2 times 5 is 10. What are the factors of 10 that add up to 13? Let's see. 10 times 1? No. 2 times 5? No. There are no factors of 10 that add up to 13, so we will say this is unfactorable, because there are no factors of 10. You can try them all out if you want. 10 times 1, 2 times 5, 3, 4, 5, no, nothing. There are no factors of 10 that add up to 13. So we will say that's just unfactorable. Sometimes you get that. Not too often, but sometimes. So that's it for tonight, and I will see you again next time. Have a great day.